Howdy everyone. It's been a while since I've posted, but today I have a couple of new stories for you. One is by a new narrator, Matrenox. She did a really good job and worked really hard. I'll link her YouTube channel down in the description. Thank you. Sheetah Hollow State Park, South Dakota. A spooky and beautiful place. It is routinely talked about in this northeast part of South Dakota that the deep, thickly forested ravines of the eastern slope of the Prairie Coteau Hills are haunted. This belief can be traced back to the South Dakota Sioux, who once used the area as their primary hunting grounds. One place in particular, now called the Sheetah Hollow State Park, is thought to be the location of a creation and vengeance story, where various Native American mythical figures fought. When the first Native Americans visited the location, they named it Sheetah, meaning evil or bad. Numerous Sioux legends recall mysterious happenings here. The local Dakota believed this to be the reason for the red-tinted water that gushed out of the springs in Sheetah Hollow. And actually, it was most likely the result of minerals in the water, but still, the legend persists to this day. One can still walk the Trail of Spirits, where supernatural forces are supposedly at work. When whites first stumbled upon Sheetah Hollow and the hills surrounding it, many of the fears of the supernatural were spread from the Dakota to the white settlers. The first white man to make his home near what would one day become Sheetah Hollow State Park was named Robert Roy in the 1840s. Finding the location to be ideal due to the abundant game, he soon made his home in a deep ravine. The local Indians thought Roy crazy for living in an area that they would not dare set foot in, much less make their home. A few years later, an expeditionary force of U.S. government soldiers from Browns Valley set out to find Mr. Roy, with the intent of collecting strategic information on what was then the frontier. It took them a number of days just to get down a wooded ravine where he lived. After they had visited with Roy, the soldiers left, agreeing with the local natives that the man was probably crazy to be living in such a place. As the years passed, more and more whites settled in the area, and the mythical stories about Sheetah Hollow only grew. It was later believed that some sort of beast or Bigfoot-type man inhabited the dense woods. This fear came to a boiling point when several people disappeared at Sheetah Hollow in the 1970s. Of the many people who joined the hunting parties for the missing persons, several who had participated openly admitted that they were looking for some sort of beast. Such an idea was supported by recent local sightings of something apparently fitting that description. Others thought there might be a bear loose in Sheetah Hollow, but of beast, bear, or the missing persons, nothing was found. Some parts of Sheetah Hollow nearby Long Hollow and other area ravines contain a form of quicksand due to the numerous springs. Additionally, there are vast stretches of densely forested gullies and harbor ravines that drop several hundred vertical feet. It is little wonder why mythical stories persist to this day. Over the years, nobody would live in Sheetah Hollow, which is one of the primary reasons that it is a national preserve and state park today. Rising from the plains, these rugged, timber-covered hills and ravines were left after the last glacier receded less than 20,000 years ago. The Indians called them Pahatanka, or Great Hills. Though the park runs a national recreation trail called the Trail of Spirits, along this path you'll see gurgling reddish bogs, the very same ones that the Sioux once thought were sprouting the blood and flesh of their ancestors. Swamp gas and stumps glow in the dark, and small waterfalls are heard echoing as trapped air escapes. It is easy to understand why these anomalies of Mother Nature were held in awe by ancient Indian tribes and the subject of many legends. For those that have been brave enough to stay the night in the park, many have reported hearing voices and chanting. The sounds of cries and war whoops, and even a few reported sighting of ghostly Indian braves. Sheetah Hollow is as beautiful as it is spooky. The state park is located 15 miles northwest of Sisseton, South Dakota, just of South Dakota Highway 10.
I've been on this table for hours, flat on my back, trying not to move, not to breathe, trying to get my heart to slow its rhythm. The warehouse is dark, but the still flickering lights and my ears tell me they are still here. To my left, I see Big Fred. His face is melted down to the bone. One of those things, the thing now curled around him and through him, spat some liquid at him a few minutes ago. There was such a scream. My lips tremble, and I cover it with my hand to muffle the noise. A hiss draws my focus to the other side. That's where Chen is. His real name is Cheng Hees, but he said to call him Chen. His full name's Mongolian. He told me once, when I'd first joined the company, that his grandmother had insisted on it when he was born. She'd also insisted he be taught some of the language from the old country. That's why he noticed the crate. Olgoy Korkoi, he'd said, laughing. Apparently, it's the Mongolian version of Bigfoot or something. The Mongolian deathworm is its name stateside. Fred said that it sounded like a B-movie. I focused on these events, trying desperately to keep it together, trying to survive, and when Chen's mouth opened, I barely kept it together. The crimson thing slithered out, streaked in his blood, antennae drifting back and forth in the air. It rose and kept rising until 2 feet of its body was exposed. It seemed to look at me, though it had no eyes. I tried to freeze, but the trapped scream inside of me started to rattle against my ribs, begging for release. The worm's head dipped again, and a wet squelch reached me. It had begun to eat. Taking a moment to release some tension, I searched for a way to escape. I knew they were blind, and if they smelled prey, I would already be dead. They probably use vibrations, like those monsters in that film with Kevin Bacon. There was nothing to jump to, and if I ran, they'd be fast enough to catch me. Maybe I could wait them out? I peeked at the window. Dim orange light was smiling through. The morning shift should be arriving any time now. Maybe with their help, I could make it. Slowing my breath yet again, my eyes drifted back to Big Fred and Chen. Their own dead gazes, glassy, frigid, brought another wave of anxiety over me. I forced my eyes to the ceiling. A morbid temptation called my eyes to go back, so I squeezed my lids shut. I don't know how long I stayed there in the silence, but suddenly there was a rattling noise. Keys in the side door. A smile crossed my face. The morning shift. Before I could even taste survival, a noise filled me with dread. Hissing. Loud. And it came from right below me. I peered over the edge. They were weaving their way, ever so slowly, up the table legs.